So, hello and welcome to the gray area. I'm Bobbi.
I'm Kay.
And you may or may not remember our voices from a long abandoned podcast called Did You See the One Where? But we've decided to restart our podcast. We're a mother and daughter duo.
Yeah.
And this first episode is kind of talking about why we stopped the last one and why we're starting a new one, but more importantly, talking about just change and going through different phases with people in your life. And
well, we're talking about why you abandoned the first show.
Okay, well.
And what got us to this point.
I'm not going to do this if you're going to blame me. But essentially, yes. So, would you like to begin since you...
Well, okay, so I think we owe it to the audience to be as truthful as possible.
And transparent, yeah.
Yeah, they want to know. I wanted to know at the time.
Well, yeah, so...
Okay, so how honest are you going to be?
Very
Bob?
Honest. What do you mean?
Okay, so if you're going to be very honest, let the viewers know where you were in your life.
So, going back to provide a little bit of context, because I feel like we're talking about this as if it was news, but it was news to really us and maybe like the 5 people that listen to our other podcast.
Yeah, but they owe it an explanation.
So, essentially, we did Did You See the One Where... was it 2 years ago now?
Yeah, it was 2 years ago.
About 2 years ago. And at the time, mentally, for me, and I can't speak for Mom, but just I wasn't in the best place. And that was due to a plethora of factors, but mainly due to a relationship that I was in that had ended quite abruptly due to the person that I was with passing away in a very sudden moment. It happened very quickly. And so I was kind of processing all of that grief and just everything on my own. And then on top of that, I was at home for the summer. And being at home for the summer when you're in college is like, you know, you're thinking it's going to be fun and everything. But at that time, I was working at the movie theater. I didn't have an internship, which I should have had during that time. And so it was just a lot of me just not being happy with life and having to really go through all of those emotions on my own for a little bit until I was transparent with the people around me what was happening.
Well, some of that is true.
Okay.
So from my perspective, you were home for the summer. Mm-hmm. Leading up to that, we talked extensively about you getting a certain internship.
Yeah.
And I was like adamant. That was when I was just like on you, like, Bobbi, okay, if you don't start now applying, you're not going to have anything. You're going to have to come home because, you know, being transparent, I didn't want you to come home.
Exactly.
Okay. For several reasons. Okay. The biggest reason was I didn't think it was going to be beneficial to you. Mm-hmm. And I knew that you were going to reach a point where you were ready to go and I was ready for you to go.
Yeah.
Okay. Because our relationship was in a place that was very weird.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
I think so.
Yeah. So you came home. Mm-hmm. And I think we started to bond over a particular documentary that we had both seen.
Yeah.
Which was
was it the Women of Jonestown, the Women Behind Jonestown?
It was the Women Behind Jonestown, but wasn't it also Wild Wild Country?
Yeah, Wild Country.
Yeah. So it was Wild Wild Country. So we really, I don't think Bob understood to what extent I love documentaries. Mm-hmm. And so we kind of bonded over that. And so we came up with this bright idea to start this show.
Yeah.
Okay. And I was all in. I was really all in because I said, you know, I love to talk.
Yeah.
And I love to talk a lot. So this would be a great outlet for me. And this would be a way for us to get closer.
Yeah.
Is what I was thinking. And so we started the podcast. Mind you, I didn't know about this guy that Bobbi was dating. Is that okay to say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I didn't tell anyone.
Yeah, you didn't tell anyone. And, you know, so when this situation happened with him and, this unfortunate situation where he passed away, I had no idea that it even happened. And when I found out, I was finding out that she was dating this guy. So for me, I was just really thrown off. Yeah. And you were dealing with that, and I didn't even know how to help you through that because I was trying to process us. So we went through all of that. We're in the midst of this podcast, and I think she was hypersensitive. I was hypersensitive because I was dealing with my own stuff.
Yeah.
And so one particular podcast we had, I talked from the perspective of my generation, and I made some comments that she did not agree with, and she got furious with me. And, we ended that podcast. I thought we were going to, get back on track and, start back up because that's what you said. And I started asking, hey, when are we going to, shoot the next show? And it was like, oh, okay, we're going to do it on Wednesday. Okay, Wednesday we get there. Okay, so we're going to do it tonight. I don't feel like it tonight. What about Friday? Okay, Friday comes. Well, I really need to work on some stuff. So, maybe Sunday. Sunday comes and goes. So it was just a lot of that. And then it got to the point where I just asked her, I said, you really don't want to do this anymore, do you? And what did you say?
I don't even remember what I said, but it was along the lines of I knew that it was hurting you to not do it, but I also knew that I wasn't really in it
anymore.
Yeah. So I didn't know really what to say that would remedy the situation.
And you know what? At that time, I didn't realize that I was putting pressure on you to kind of bail me out of my situation, which, I was just in a dark space, just dealing with the day-to-day stuff, just like a lot of personal things just going on, just within our little unit. And I was looking for something,
right?
And I needed something. I was also dealing with the fact that we weren't really close anymore. Cameron, helping him through situations that he's going through, and then, your dad and I having our own personal situation. So it was just a lot going on, and I put a lot into let's do this show because I need this.
Right.
And I didn't even consider what you were going through because I really didn't know. And then when I found out, I didn't know.
That's a lot to process.
It was a lot.
You hear it all at once.
Yeah. But my heart went more out to you after I was able to process it.
Yeah.
And so we dismantled the show and we stepped away.
Yeah.
And so what happened during the time when you stepped away? What changed for you to bring us back to this point and to revive this show? And now we're the gray area. What got you to this point?
I think it was just a lot of, I can't quite put a tangible, I did this thing and that caused this, but I think it was just time, letting time pass and being able to really understand what I was feeling, going to therapy and really...
Therapy was key.
Yeah, going to therapy was essential because it helped me to kind of figure out my emotions and be okay with how I was feeling, because there were certain feelings that I was denying myself with everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so going to therapy really helped me to be present with myself,
Mm-hmm.
and also kind of not be so hard on myself.
Yeah.
Which was essential. And so now that we're here, and I think also just like in with time, not just going to therapy, but also just the timing of everything now.
Mm-hmm.
When we did the last podcast, I was going to be a junior in college,
Yeah.
and now, I'm about to graduate. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a big jump, because
A lot of growth in that period of time.
yeah,
Yeah.
and just a lot of things have happened, good things, I think, that have been good for me, and it just put me in a different mindset to be able to be honest with you on a platform about how I was feeling and how my actions affected you. And I think it was just all together in a better place to talk about, this.
And then for me, I think we had reached a point where therapy, like I said, therapy was key. I reached a point where I didn't feel like I could help you any further.
Yeah.
And knowing who I am as a person, that tortured me. Because I knew I just was not getting through to you to try to help you through the pain that you were experiencing.
Yeah.
And so I think the best thing was you taking me up on seeking therapy on your college campus, and I think that helped you more than anything.
Yeah.
And in that time, I was doing my own soul searching, which was to, really figure out what it is that I'm into, what is my passion, what drives me, and to also really figure out how I could get back to us.
Yeah.
And during that period of time, I started upon a new spiritual journey that's been helping me. And in the midst of that, I've learned who you are as a person, and I really see you for who you are. And now I see myself for who I truly am.
Yeah.
And now that I'm at that space, there's no judgment. And so now when we talk, it's basically two friends getting together talking.
Yeah, it really is. I think we still have the respect and dynamic of mother and daughter,
yeah.
but on the day-to-day, it is really like you as Kay as a person and me, Bobbi, as a person.
Because you're a young woman now.
Yeah.
And before, you just looked at me as just mom. Like, you didn't know that I had a whole life
before me.
Before you.
Yeah. Which is crazy.
which is crazy because I actually feel comfortable enough to have those types of conversations with you and not have the fear of, okay, if I tell her that I, did this, is she going to try to do it too? Or, just being afraid, that you'll do all the crazy stuff that I did. But now it's just like, it's very freeing to have that type of relationship. And now, I feel like our bond is so strong that we really can tackle anything. And so one of the things we're doing now is
retackling the podcast world.
Exactly. And now we're here at the gray area.
Boom.
Yes.
Good segue.
So the moral of the story is,
yes,
basically, sometimes it's not about forcing something. Sometimes you have to say goodbye to something and trust that it'll come back if it's meant to be.
Yeah, if it's meant to be.
And our relationship, because there are a lot of mother and daughters that don't talk.
Yeah.
That have a toxic relationship. So just because you're mother and daughter, it doesn't always mean you're going to come back. But when I walked away from the podcast and when she walked away from the podcast, I was walking away from our past. All of the bad things that went along with it. I walked away from it.
Yeah.
And I focused on myself. And she did the same thing. And that is how we were able to get to this beautiful place that we're in now.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think now more than ever, this is probably the closest that we've ever been, which is...
I'd say so.
I would say... Well, yeah, I would say so. Just because...
Yeah.
I feel like we've been close in the past, but there's still been distance in areas.
There was always distance because you felt like you were being judged.
Yeah.
A lot. And I did judge you a lot. And
so my feelings were valid, is what you're saying.
Well, some of them were valid. No, not all of them. Let's not get crazy. Okay. Okay. Yeah, some of the feelings were valid. So yeah, this is the closest we've ever been, because before, we weren't as close. I always knew it because I would catch you in a lie. Mm-hmm. That was the telltale sign.
Oh yeah.
But now, I don't think you're lying to me.
No.
And I don't lie to you.
Right. So
it works.
And here we are.
Okay.
So I think going forward, should this be something that is long lasting and a good bonding activity for the two of us, I think we are moving forward on the path, I guess, of just honesty, and also just like going for stuff that we want to go for. Mm-hmm. And I feel like this podcast is going to be one of those things. Mm-hmm. Us not only talking about, just whatever's happening out, current events and everything, but also just sometimes having just these moments like this, just talking about stuff,
Yeah, because I feel like it can help somebody, Yeah. I always feel like people kind of need a different way of looking at things. Mm-hmm. So, and I'll be the first one to say that, I've made a ton of mistakes, as a mom, and you being my firstborn, because I always looked at you like you had it together.
Yeah.
But sometimes, even when that firstborn shows you strength, that may be really a facade.
Yeah, it's a front.
Yeah, it's a front for, I got to keep this image up. And that's a lot of pressure. Mm-hmm. And so now, if you can ever get to the point in your relationships where you're able to be 100% honest, you can truly have something great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not to say that we're
not perfect.
We're
definitely.
not the poster
children
for.
We're not the poster children for the
mother-daughter
great relationships, but we're a lot better than we were.
Yeah.
So.
And that says a lot.
That says a lot.
Well, Mom, I think that this is the start of a beautiful thing.
Yes.
And I think that we've said all we have to say.
Yeah.
For the first episode.
Yes, and I say that too. We don't know how long this podcast is going to go on forever, because she's going to be graduating
in 6 months.
She's going to be, going to move away, but we're going to have fun.
Yeah.
While we can.
And, technology only gets better, so hopefully.
Yeah, we could keep it going, if you, in between your, work and dates and your life and all of that type of stuff.
Well,
so
peppered in dates. But I think this is a good fresh start, and a good start on just being open and honest with each other.
Yeah.
And being open and honest with whoever out there in the world decides to listen to this.
Absolutely.
But I appreciate you, Mommy, dearest.
I appreciate you too.
I was waiting for you to say it back,
daughter.
But that's it for us.
That's it for us. So, are we going to commit to the next podcast where we're going to actually be talking about current events? And I think we're going to be we're going to be talking about the Golden Globes?
The Golden Globes, and just some other shenanigans that's been going on. So
cool. That
can be expected next. I won't put a time on it, but
hey, that works for me.
It's coming next.
Okay, till then,
I'm Bobbi.
And I'm Kay.
And this is the gray area.
Thanks for listening.
Bye-bye.
Bye.